Hello, welcome to Surviving the Badge, where a bunch of retired cops are here to talk about how they survived the badge and their experiences that they had in their careers. I'm your host, Ronnie.
I'm Camille. Right now, we don't have John. He's celebrating his wife's birthday. So, way to go, John. Have fun, all that stuff.
Yeah, tonight we're going to dedicate our show to a 16-year-old Tate Myre of the Oxford High School incident in Michigan. He was attempting to stop a school shooter and ended up succumbing to his wounds from that school shooter. But there's just no telling how many lives that this young man saved by jumping in front of this guy and trying to wrestle the gun away from him. He is an absolute true hero, and I wish that he was still around so I could shake his hand and tell him what a hero he really is.
It really takes a lot of guts to do what he did, and we won't know how many people were saved who could have escaped, but just a 16-year-old jumping in front and sacrificing himself for others.
Unbelievable. Here's to Tate.
Absolutely.
Salute. All right, well, let's talk about our beer moment.
Yay, beer moment. What do you got for us today, Ron?
I have, here's your glass.
Thank you.
I have Wonderland Nectarine Ale. It is by the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, nectar. I love nectar. What nectarine is that? That's similar to a peach, right? What's the difference between a nectarine and a peach?
I have no idea. I think it's a little smaller.
Is it?
Yeah, maybe not as fuzzy.
If you guys know what the difference is between a nectarine and a peach, let us know down in the comments. And because you can catch us on YouTube, you can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry. Salute. Even before I drank it, I could smell the nectarine.
This is what it looks like. See if you can see it. Wonderland. I know the light's kind of messing it up, but
no, I like that.
Man, that is pretty darn good. I like that.
Sierra Nevada is usually really harsh for me. I'm enjoying this.
All right, I'm going to give this bad boy a 9.
Oh, wow.
My highest rating so far, I'm going to give it a 9. Absolutely.
I see myself giving it an 8 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's good. I can drink it. I'm not like, it's not dumpster water. So it's really good. With that, I want to thank our sponsors, Kenny's Grocery. It's they have about 500, give or take, craft beers there. They're located at 1792 and French Avenue. Go in there and tell Kenny that you heard about him on Surviving the Badge. We'd also like to thank our second sponsor, C&R Constructors, and Ronnie's going to tell us about that.
They're a general contractor here in the Central Florida area. They specialize in home remodels, commercial build-outs, and they can build everything from the ground up. So if you need some kind of construction work done, whether it be on the commercial side or on the residential side, please give them a call. Their website is www.crconstructors.net. Thanks, guys.
With that, we're going to go into our fallen officers moment. Last week, I was camping, and the guys were trying to replace me with a pretty good detective. I was listening live, and it was kind of funny. As Ronnie was asking questions, I'm answering, and right there, he's saying exactly the same thing. And my wife's like, oh, looks like somebody else is a good detective, too.
Did she say it like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that was JT, and he is absolutely fantastic. I love working with JT. Great guy, and it was the GSR question. He came right up with it like that. That was awesome.
He was spot on. I would have done exactly the same thing. Talk to the shooter last, things like that.
Absolutely.
So the last episode was November 19th, and since November 19th, 4 officers have been killed in the line of duty in the United States. Total of 440 this year, higher than last year, and 1 was from COVID-19, 2 were from gunfire, and 1 was a vehicle crash. There was an officer shot today. I think he will survive in Clay County, Florida.
I did hear about that.
Yeah, he was serving a warrant on a guy who lived in a tent or something, and as he was executing the warrant, he shot at the officers, and but I think he from what I understand last, it was life threatening wounds. So hopefully,
Okay, good. So to the ones we've lost, rest in peace.
Yep.
Salute. Thank you for making that ultimate sacrifice to keep all of us safe. We really appreciate it. I don't know how I made it through 35 years, and I can't say unscathed because I have plenty of scratches and bangs and bruises and concussions and everything else, but just thank God.
Right.
Thank God for them.
We've all been in the shit, and some of us luckily have made it, and others have given all in their sacrifice, and we thank them. So
Wait.
yeah,
Don't you have a Baldwin update?
I do have a Baldwin update.
What? All right, let's hear about that asshole.
Our buddy Alec Baldwin went on the George Stephanopoulos show, and I was dumbfounded when I heard the word. Actually, I really wasn't, and I'll tell you why. He claimed that he did not pull the trigger.
Yeah. What the actual hell does that mean?
So what he said.
Will the gun fall?
Yeah. What he said is he drew the gun, pointed it went off.
Yeah.
It did not pull the trigger whatsoever. So my BS meter hit 1 million.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And one of the biggest reasons is, and I see it a little bit, in some blogs and some videos. This gun is a 1873 Colt replica, a 45 long Colt replica, and it's a single action. And I think we talked about this last time. A single action revolver, you can grab it and pull the trigger all day long. It will not do anything.
Right.
To engage the trigger mechanism, to make it fire, you have to pull the hammer all the way back into a full cock position and then fire. You would actually have to pull the trigger before the hammer to fall forward. So when I heard that,
let me ask you this.
Yes.
If you pulled the hammer halfway back,
Right.
but didn't pull the trigger,
Correct.
halfway back, it slipped out of your thumb and fell,
Right.
would it fire?
No.
Right.
So this particular gun, has what's called a transfer bar in it. The transfer bar transfers the energy from the hammer to the firing pin.
Right.
And the only time that is in a position to transfer that energy is when the hammer is fully in lock position. If it's not in full lock position, that transfer bar is not in position to transfer the energy to the firing pin. Unfortunately, now let's talk the minute possibility. There are some of these guns originally that did not have transfer bars.
Okay.
This is a replica. I'm going to find it very unlikely that this gun did not have a transfer bar. If it didn't have a transfer bar, okay, it could have gone off if the hammer slipped. But another thing is, while you're pulling the hammer back, it's rotating the cylinder.
Right.
And the primer would not be in position
Right. So if
yet.
it's halfway, it wouldn't be in position.
Right. The primer would not be in position yet. Now, one thing he does have on his side is, once the hammer is fully cocked back, the trigger pull is very light, 3 pounds maybe.
I was going to say probably 2 to 3, maybe 4 if it's a heavy caliber. But
Right.
45 is.
But nothing's going to happen until he pulls that hammer.
So
there is the slightest possibility that this gun suffered a major malfunction internally. There is that possibility. I don't think it happened because they were using it but there's always that. Nothing is 100%, right?
Right, nothing.
So there is a very slight possibility that there was something internally wrong with the firearm. Not buying it, okay? I think he pulled the trigger. Now, that being said, I worked an officer-involved shooting because that's one of the jobs I did in my last agency, is we'd go out to police officers who shot at somebody or shot somebody, and we didn't do the investigation. There was a case where a lady was it's like the old movie style. The guy had the girl up here, and things happened. I wasn't there. It came later, and they ended up shooting this guy. I go out there, and the guy was surrounded, and one of the officers was outside standing behind a fence. And where he told me he was standing, first of all, he said, yeah, I just covered him. I didn't fire, just covering. And then those guys fired, blah, blah, blah. And while he's telling me this, I'm looking at the fence, and there's a hole in the fence. And there's a shell casing on the ground. And I'm like, and we get back to the station, and we collect everything. And he would have bet his mother's and children's life that he did not pull the trigger on that gun, which happens.
Was it a sympathetic squeeze?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a sympathetic squeeze, which explain what that is.
If you're holding the firearm and you have your finger in the trigger and you're aiming wherever you're aiming, and something startles you, something scares you, shocks you, hits you, anything like that, as a reaction, the body tenses, and when you tense, you fire the firearm accidentally. And that's why every single time we're clearing a building, we're doing anything else, and you'll see it in the movies. Now they finally caught on, most of them, you'll see that the finger is along the bottom of the slide out of the trigger guard just to stop the sympathetic accidental firing, the sympathetic squeeze. And I've seen it several times.
Yeah.
Where they didn't mean to fire, and then they didn't even know they fired.
Had no idea.
Right.
This officer had no idea. When we told him, well, your magazine's missing around. There's a hole in the fence where you were standing, and there's a shell casing on the ground. He's like, shit, I had no idea. I didn't even think about it. Which I could understand if, and the thing is, I think Alec Baldwin's hurting himself by saying I didn't pull the trigger. If he said, it was accident or whatever.
I don't ever remember pulling that trigger.
I don't remember pulling the trigger is a lot better than I 100% did not pull it.
Because let me tell you something. Those 45s, those old style Colt 45s, the revolvers, they are heavy as shit.
Yep.
And the handle is not that big on them, And if he pulled that out or pulled it out of here, wherever he pulled it out of, and he pulls it up to aim, just the mere weight on that, if the dumbass had his finger on the trigger and just the weight of that, and he even moved a little bit, pow, it goes off. He wouldn't have known that he pulled the trigger. Or didn't mean to pull the trigger.
Right. And I think it's a good point. I didn't even think about, he may not have pulled the trigger.
But he could have moved his hand.
The movement of his hands. Right.
He could have squeezed because they said, okay, action. And just that action, he tensed up for just a second.
So last thing I'm going to say is none of this would have happened if he would have checked the gun.
Absolutely.
And George, have you seen the comments from George Clooney? He's like, every single time you get the gun, you check it.
Absolutely.
And he's shitting on him pretty bad.
And he's done a whole buttload of action movies.
He's like, every time you get a gun from somebody, you check to see if there's ammo in it. And he didn't do that. We would not be talking about it. Everything would be fine. They'd be probably wrapping up the film by now.
Yep.
But no, he didn't check the gun.
All right. So we're going to do a little bit different show tonight. We wanted to get that out of the way. But we're going to do a little different show tonight. We're going to do something fun. We're going to talk about
holiday season.
Yeah. We're going to talk about all of the times that we shit on each other by practical jokes, by, pulling one over on each other and this and that throughout our careers. Because you know what? I got to tell you, if it wasn't for all the practical jokes and the fun and the goofing around and the kidding around and everything else, the job would have been unbearable.
Would not have survived a badge.
You can't go through 20 years, 25, 30, 35, 40 years of this job and just be stone-faced unless you're a freaking robot. You just can't.
No.
And I know guys that's went 20 years and they were straight-laced and never freaking cracked a smile and never, were privy to any jokes or anything else.
But he moved to Australia.
Yeah. And they're miserable. They're absolutely miserable people.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't be like that. So
I'm going to start off your first one by prefacing that I was in the squad room when it happened, and I was very glad that the wrong victim of the prank, took it very well.
All right, so we had a thing at the PD where me and this guy, Tommy, who worked there, greatest practical joker ever, I swear, we would take an ink pad, black ink pad, and we had black phones, and they were office phones, and we would take the black ink pad and we would smash it onto the phone, the ear receiver.
This was before cell phones.
Yeah, before cell phones and all that other crap. And then we would hang it up. Well, it got so bad that every time you picked up a phone to answer it, you immediately took the phone and you wiped it on your hand to make sure there was no ink on it, and then you answered it. I mean, that's how bad it was. Everybody got it. I got it. He got it. We all got had by this because you just never know when it was going to happen. So we had me and Tommy just inked one up good, boy. I mean, it was ready to go. And Camille's taking a stolen vehicle report, and he brings the victim into the squad room. Now, we never bring victims into the squad room. It never happens. No victims don't come in there. Prisoners, yes, because we had a chair bolted to the floor. We'd bring prisoner, handcuff them to the floor or to the chair.
It was easy to just knock out the report because we didn't have a place in the lobby to write the report. So
he brings her back to the squad room, and she's sitting at the main table where the damn inked phone is. And yes, I know you're guessing right now what happened. She says, "Oh, can I use your phone?" "Sure, you be my guest." She grabs this damn phone and she puts it up to her ear. She blah, 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 blah. And not only on one ear, but then she switches freaking ears and goes to the other ear. So I'm over at my desk and I look over and I look at Camille and I go like this, like, "Don't let her, oh." And by then she had switched ears when I realized that she was using that phone. And I look over at her and her entire ear is black. And this is a white female. And I mean black, just coated. And I went, "Oh my God."
And I felt good because I'm not the one who did it.
So I look at Camille and I basically say, "Look." And he looks over and he goes, "Oh my God." So
she's just been victimized a second time.
So I had to break it.
Thanks to Surge.
I had to break the news to her, and I pull her aside and I say, "Ma'am, I really hope that you are good at taking a practical joke."
A good sport.
And she goes, "Yeah." And I said, "What?" And she goes, "But why?" And she goes, "Oh, what? My car's not really stolen." I said, "No. Your car is actually really stolen. And I had to go through the whole thing that nobody ever comes in here. This is not for civilians. They're not supposed to really be in here, blah, blah, blah." And I tell her that both of her freaking ears are black with ink. And so, of course, she reaches up and does this, and she goes, "Oh my God," like that. And I go, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I'll help you clean it up. I'm so sorry. You're not supposed to be using these phones."
He explained how it's an internal prank for other officers. And
so, you know what? She laughed. She thought it was hilarious. She even said that she's going to do it at her office to get back at some of the girls that's been messing with her. We took her in there and Gojo, and she's washing her ears with Gojo. This is about the only thing that would take the ink off. And I'm helping her with everything. We got her all cleaned up, and she was a great sport. But
thank God,
that's a practical joke.
Because I don't think she didn't. I mean, that would have been perfect for tell the chief. I want to talk to the chief. Oh God. Oh.
Well, it didn't backfire. It backfired, but it didn't backfire like that. Thank God. That one okay, but
that's an IA right there.
Dude, we got so many cops with that. I mean, they would literally walk out of the squad room with one black ear, and we'd let them go on the road like that. We're like, "Oh, well," and they'd go to calls with one black ear, and it was great.
Have fun storming the castle.
Oh, it was freaking awesome. All right, go ahead.
So Ronnie, LT got his comeuppance. We would go shopping. We've been doing that for 100 years, right? And we'd go shopping, which is code for we'd go out drinking and just cutting up around Christmas time. And
but we didn't drive drunk.
No, of course not. So
designated driver.
We got back, and I told him, and this is very important because I met at Ronnie's house, and that's where I left my car, and we went and came back.
Yeah, listen to this, whatever.
So it's very important that I informed, I said, and Ronnie and his family always put up the inflatable snowmen and Santa Clauses and all the Christmas stuff. And I said, hey, LT, I'm going to steal your snowman. I told him right out. And he's like, oh, okay, whatever. But to me, that's permission. So he goes inside the house. Hey, can I? And
Shut off all the lights.
I unplugged the snowman. Bing, 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 bing.
This is the Grinch. He looked just like the Grinch going across the yard, I'm sure, only twice as
It would be
fast.
awesome if it was on ring. So I'm conflating it.
Wait, who's with you?
I'm not ratting anybody out.
John was right there with you.
So I conflate. I throw it in my car and I go home. Forget about it. Totally 100 forget about it. Sleep in the next day. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, because he was grunk and he's hung over the next day.
About 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I inflate it. It's it's a snowman, right? And I take a picture and I send it. I said, if you want to see your snowman alive again, I don't know, 12-pack or whatever. And the response, I've never seen him cuss so much in my entire life. Why was that? Why were you so angry?
Well, because it was a $150 freaking snowman with twinkly lights inside of it and all this shit. It was like 8 foot tall and all this.
That's not why you were really angry, though.
And I called the sheriff's office and told them that someone had stolen our Christmas decorations and reported a theft. And he tells me, if you want your snowman back. So now I'm like, Jesus criminy. I freaking called the sheriff's office and made a crime report. So thank God the deputy had been around a while, and I call him and I go, hey man, you can cancel that report.
Did you have him come by or did you have him call you?
Well, the second time when I called him to cancel it, I just called him on the phone and he says, one of your buddies got it, huh? I said, yeah, man, I am so sorry, dude. Cancel the report. And he's like, that's a good one. He said, I only had it about half done. I said, just cancel it. Cancel it. So, yeah. And I'll have you know, by the way, we got it back, put it in the garage. The next year we opened it up. Yeah, the twisty light thing inside didn't work. So he still owes me a
Those
snowman.
things happen.
Yeah,
Those
whatever.
things happen.
Whatever. All right. Our special guest Sean was supposed to fill in for John tonight.
We had a special guest, Sean. You saw him a few months ago. He got a call out. I'm important. I got a call out. So he couldn't make it. He had some interesting stories, I'm sure. Speaking of Frosties, there was a incident that I heard that you actually we used to wear black uniforms, and there was an incident where a sergeant no longer had a black uniform.
So one of my signature pranks. I was kind of the prankster.
Let me preface.
Go ahead.
So now in modern policing, everybody has their own police car, and you can't do this anymore. So, but back in the day,
They would share, like two people would share one car, and they'd leave it at the station. The guy would come in, grab his bag or whatever. It had a standard amount of equipment in it, but your personal stuff, you throw it in the seat, and then you take off.
so you shared cars. It wasn't just your assigned vehicle.
So this sergeant's car, the guy that normally shares with him, was off, and it was sitting there at the station. And so me and my stepbrother, Mike, God rest his soul, we went and got a whole bottle of baby powder. Opened up his car and squeezed this entire bottle of baby powder. It was one of the, smaller size ones, into his AC vents. And then to make it perfect, we blew it off the edges of the vents so we wouldn't see it or anything else. Then we turned the air. It was the old slide. You old timers know what the old slide controls were on the old Fords, but put it on high and max.
That was with the Ford
LTDs.
LTDs, yeah.
Yeah. So we took the air vents and pointed them right towards his face, right towards his uniform, the three that were there. And so we were waiting for him to get in the car and this and that. So he comes in, does his thing, he fires up the car, and he drives out. And I'm like, holy shit, it didn't work. I'm like, we did all this work and it didn't work. Well, being a good employee like he was, It's not good to start a car with the AC on because back then they didn't have the electronic control where it didn't turn on until the car, started. You were cranking the AC freaking compressor. Anyway, all of a sudden he leaves, goes down the road, and all of a sudden in about, I don't know, a minute and a half, I hear this coming up Reinhardt Road, and I look.
Didn't you say that I remembered it vividly. I wasn't there, but you always explain how you saw a car and just like white smoke just pouring out of it.
It looked like it was on fire. He had rolled down the windows and he's coming up the road, and the freaking whatever, the powder is blowing out of these windows. He comes flying up into the driveway and he stops the car and he gets out and he wore glasses. And when he gets out, he is, like he said, black uniforms. From here to here, he is almost completely white. His hair is white, and he wore glasses. And the bottom of his glasses, I swear to God, they were that deep in freaking powder. And he takes them off. It's just like a movie, dude. And the circles when he took his glasses off, and he goes. And of course, we're standing there trying to keep a straight face. And we couldn't.
Dave, what happened?
We couldn't keep a straight face. We just busted out laughing. And he goes, "You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch." And I mean, he was covered. So I was a good sport. I helped him clean it all up and everything. But we got like 3 other guys with that. I waited a few months. And we got like 2 or 3 other guys. None of them were as effective as him. It got to where you would reach in the car from the outside, you turn the air off, you start the car, and you take your flashlight or your nightstick and you'd move the controller to on and wait for the powder to come on. Yeah, it was crazy. But you know what? Everybody laughed. We had a great time. It made the day go by, and everybody started off with a laugh.
Yeah.
It was friggin' awesome.
I don't know why this sergeant was always maybe not always, but he was quite often the brunt, because same sergeant, I remember, so we had these...
Because he was always so serious.
Was it?
Yeah, he could take a joke, though, but he was just always so serious and just, he's from New York, and he just, I don't know, but he could take a damn joke, I'll tell you.
Because I remember those big, long black zip ties, if you had a bunch of people you had to arrest... You've seen them, where, SWAT team comes. Zzz, zzz, zzz. So we had some of those, and I remember climbing into his car and zip tying the driver's side door to the steering wheel, so you couldn't open it, and you had to climb. He actually had to climb all. If you had a call or anything or wherever, if you wanted to get in the car, you had to climb all the way over from the passenger side
and take his buck knife and flip the strap. And he's a big boy. He was like
he's a big guy,
250, 260 pounds.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope there's not a hot call that he has to go to.
Yeah, because the windows are up. You can't just reach through the window and cut it. Oh my God. And we didn't think about that. I mean, I'm sure that. If there was a hot call and he was delayed, there would have been hell to pay. But, we're in our 20s, man. We didn't think about shit like that,
Consequences, schmonsequences.
But we had an absolute blast. It was... So what about the dead grandmother well-being?
You know how well you get a call? Check on the well-being of so-and-so. So I get... And we're moving a little bit past the... practical jokes into some screwed up calls that we've been on. So, well-being, Unit 18, I think it was 19. 19 respond to a well-being check. Neighbors hadn't heard, from this neighbor for a few days, and I'm like, oh, shit, dead body. So I get there, and the neighbors are there. And we go, and the door's unlocked, and we go in, and the neighbors go in, and they go to the left. And I go to the right, and I end up in the master bedroom. And I'm walking into the master bedroom, and I see a chair, and there's an elderly lady in the chair. And she's honest to God. She's like this. And it appears as if she had gotten out of the shower and was getting dressed, because she was naked. Well, she had like part of a bra on.
Right.
And she's like this. Right? And I walk up, and I'm like, oh, shit. So I'm about to call. Yeah, we got to, signal 7.
Which is a dead person.
And I reach in, because and you got to make sure. And I'm reaching in to check the pulse. And as soon as I touch her pulse, she wakes up, and she goes, "Oh!" That's it. I almost shit my pants, dude. I go, "Oh!" I honest to God thought she was freaking dead, and she scared the crap out of me.
You can't make this shit up. I'm telling you can't make this shit up.
And I'm like,
yeah, that was scary.
Ma'am, your neighbors were worried about you.
Yeah. It's like,
right. Oh, God. I think I lost 5 years off of my life.
Oh, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, and dead body calls, they're the worst, man. I went on one. Curtis was out there. It was like one of his first ones that he went to. It was off Wood Street. You remember.
Oh, that
Wood
one.
Street and Weldon.
Yeah.
And he goes into this call, and he walks in, and I already knew what was in there. He goes walking in, and he goes, "Oh my God, dude! Oh my God!" And yeah, this lady, poor lady, she had been in there for I don't even know.
It was 3 to 4 days because I worked it.
And it's the summertime, no air on, and everything. Oh yeah, it was terrible. Those are the worst kind of calls you can possibly ever go on.
Pat and I worked that case. No, was it Pat? Todd and I worked that case, and we got there, and it was hot. Oh my God, it was so freaking hot, and she was dead.
And remember, we had this. We did a patrol on it.
Yeah,
we had to station
until after the autopsy because we weren't sure if it was a natural or. So we get to the autopsy. Oh my God, her face was just green.
Yeah,
and then she was bloated, and when they cut into her, she was like.
Yeah.
It smelled so bad. Oh God. And so Todd's sitting there. He's putting that Vicks on the inside of his mask.
All that does is open up the whole factory.
Right? So I learned a long time ago. You breathe through your mouth. You put a mask on, breathe through your mouth, and just suck it up. But it was a natural death. But.
So we're over at a house, and we knew about this house and the stuffed animals that were in this house. And we take. You remember Keith? You remember Keith?
Yeah. I was partnered with Keith for a long time.
So we take Keith into this house, and it's an alarm call. And we're walking through this house, and my dad and I, we knew what was in the house. And we're walking through here, and I
LT's dad worked for the same agency. He worked there for a long time, and he was my sergeant.
Yeah, he was. So we go through this house, and we tell him, all right, go check that room. It was a living room, and it was just off the living room by the fireplace and the mantle. And there's this freaking bear, a full
grizzly bear, right?
Grown grizzly bear, and it's standing here like this with its claws out, and it looks real as hell. So it's pitch black in this house, and he goes around this thing, and he goes, all of a sudden I hear him go, "Oh my God," like that. and I hit it with this flashlight, and this goddamn bear was right in his face, and I thought the guy was going to have a freaking heart attack. But it was great. I mean, just some of the messed up calls. I mean, there was 5 million of them.
My very first call with your dad. The brothers on.
Oh, no, Stinky Brothers. No, come on, man.
I'm freaking 20 years old, ready to charge hell with a bucket of water, and I'm ready. And we get a call about somebody throwing rocks at the brothers' house. And
Benedict Brothers.
Well, I didn't want to mention.
I don't care.
And your dad's like, yeah, my trainee will take care of that.
Yeah, he was good about sending his trainee to do that.
So I got my report folder, the metal thing, and I'm walking up, la la la, and he's like, "You won't need that." I'm like, "All right, whatever." And honest to God, 30 feet from the house, I can smell death, the nastiest stuff you can imagine in this house, and I'm like.
And they weren't dead.
They were sitting on the porch.
Yeah. These two did not ever take a bath, ever. Like, ever. And the sheets on their bed had the outline of their body in black. I mean, it was the most disgusting thing you ever seen.
So I get up to the porch, and they're saying, "Yeah, somebody threw rocks at my house." And as a good trainee, I'm like, taking a report. I'm like,
gagging the whole entire time.
I'm like,
yeah.
it was
Wishing you had a rebreather on.
so I look back behind me, and I'm like, "Where's my Sarge?"
Oh yeah, he's out at the road.
Yeah, he's out at the road, sitting in the car, just laughing his ass off, because he knew what I was in store for.
I don't know how many trainees that I set up to that house and said, "Yeah, go talk to him." And they're like, "Okay." And they get out and they get about halfway up to the door and they turn around and look and see where I'm at. These guys were harmless. They didn't have any weapons in the house.
No,
they were a little touched and they were completely harmless. But I did the same thing. Sat out there and said, "Yeah, go talk to him, but make sure you tell them to come outside when you
Don't
talk
go
to
inside.
Them. Don't go inside."
I looked once inside. The door was open, and honest to God, it was shit from floor to ceiling, just stuff like newspapers, and it was just paths.
It was
It was like, what?
They had from the edge of the path, okay, it went straight up at an angle like this to the ceiling. And literally there was a 1.5 feet, maybe 2 foot path through the garbage, trash, and just junk to the rooms, to the bathroom, and to the kitchen. There was grease in a pan. I went in there one time. I had to go in there.
You went in?
The one brother died. We had to.
Oh, God. I never went in.
Yeah, I went in with a rag over my face, and there was grease in a pan this thick, and it had black mold and shit in the grease. And right next to it was a plate. It looked like they just ate off a plate, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Yeah, it was disgusting. So, anyway,
the glorious part of police work. That's when I realized, shit, this got real. Police work is not as glorious as it is in the movies and the TV shows.
And now you know why we played the pranks on each other and messed with each other. I mean, if we had a rookie and that rookie left his car door unlocked and went on a call and left his car door unlocked, when he came back to the car, there was nothing in the car. All of his personal effects were gone because somebody had come by, one of us had come by, taken them all out of the car, put them in our car, and left. And it's how you teach them a lesson.
Yep.
Lock your damn car door.
I remember, I don't know if it was Todd or Pat, one of them had their report folder wrapped in evidence tape. And the evidence tape...
Todd.
It's Todd. And evidence tape doesn't come off.
No.
It's not like duct tape, okay, it's done.
No, it tears off in little tiny pieces.
And it's like,
That was me and Curtis. that was Curtis and I. Yeah, we wrapped him up good.
Good shit.
Yeah, well, and that's just, but you know what? And I still had a ticket book where I had left it laying and walked off and left it. And everybody knew if you left, unless you told somebody, "Hey, I'm leaving my shit lay there because I'm going out to get this victim or going to get this, don't mess with my stuff," then you were fine. Nobody messed with your stuff. But if you just walked off and drove off and left it at the station, you'd come back and it'd be taped up solid. I mean, like a bundle like this with a clipboard this thick. Oh, yeah. So, you know what? But it was a lot of fun. We had a blast. And everybody went home. We were all friends. We went home, slapped each other on the back. We laughed about it. And it was just a brotherhood. And Linda, she was the worst. She was a female sergeant, and she was the worst. I mean, she would throw donut holes across the squad room, white donut holes, and hit you in the uniform, and then you're in there trying to clean it off. I mean, she was the worst. So it wasn't like just a boys' club. She was right in on it, man. I'm telling you.
Wasn't it your dad who put an old shrimp in a bag behind somebody's in the back seat of somebody's patrol car?
No, they got me.
They got you.
Yeah, because I had messed with a guy we called Trooper. His name was Scott when I was in the drug unit.
Okay.
And I had messed with him. So he got me back by putting a shrimp and pulled the back part of the back seat, and stuck it in there. I thought I had an exhaust leak. It was so bad I couldn't stand it. And I told my son, I gotta go take this car in, dude. I can't stand it. It's gagging me. It's got to be an exhaust leak. And he goes, okay, we'll do whatever you need to do. Well, he was in on it, or he knew about it. And he goes, well, hold on a minute. Don't take the car into the shop yet. They go out. When we pulled the shrimp out, it was black liquid. It had been in there for 3 weeks in the Florida sun in this car. And thank God it was in a plastic bag because it didn't stain, it didn't get into the cloth. But
didn't damage anything.
No, it didn't damage anything. But, that's the kind of shit that we pulled on each other. And, man, I'll tell you what, if there's anything about the job that I miss, it's that kind of stuff. Yeah. And they don't do it anymore. None of that stuff happens anymore. And the guys are always at each other's, they're always scared somebody's going to get them tomorrow and everything. They don't have any of that anymore. And it's a damn shame. It really is a shame. As I was leaving the department, it got so bad that everybody was even afraid to tell a joke or anything. And I'm not talking about a racial joke or, a sexist joke, just any kind of joke. Guys were even afraid to tell just the simplest joke. Like, hey, a horse walked into the bar. The bartender said, hey, why the long face? Just guys were worried about everything when I left. And it's a damn shame. It really is.
Yeah, but that's an environment. Yeah.
Society. That's what society is today. So, listen, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you had a lot of fun. I know we had a lot of fun telling the stories. This was part of the best part of my career, was the jokes and the fun and the camaraderie and the good time that we had. I hope it made, if you guys are in law enforcement, I hope it made you laugh. Maybe it gave you some ideas. Maybe you got some great partners that won't dime you out, and you can go do this shit to them and have a blast and laugh about it and have a good time. Leave us a comment down below. If you want to see us do other kind of things and talk about other things, please leave us a comment. We love to read your comments. I go through every single one of the comments and I try to respond, even if it's with a like your comment. But make sure you like and subscribe down below. We really would appreciate it. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are available on that podcast solution for you to listen to us. Listen on the way to work. Hey, you may learn something, or you may just get a good laugh and put you in a good mood before you go to work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know that they say laughter is the best medicine. The shit that officers see throughout a career,
my God, man,
you got to augment that or offset that with some good laughter, because you see some stuff that I still think about today.
Oh, absolutely.
And without that humorous time, without those good laughs, those really deep belly laughs.
Yeah.
Like
we did tonight.
Right. I think that there would probably be a lot more officer suicides, which we're going to cover in upcoming, probably the new year, because this is the holiday season. We wanted to be a little light, but you just got to laugh. You can't take it so serious that you can't laugh. Like Ronnie said, follow us. We also have an email if you want to give us an idea. retiredcopsrule@gmail.com. Yep. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. And I know we were going to send out some stickers. We got to figure out we're going to do like a lottery or something, or
a contest. Yeah. We're going to do a little contest. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. And just remember that at Surviving the Badge, we still got your 6.